This is a special episode of The Cold Strict CEO and his heartwarming assistant when she pushed him off the stairs while he was pregnant. The John mansion had never felt warmer. Since Taeyoung moved in after the wedding, the air buzzed with joy. Mrs. John had practically adopted him as her second son, always pulling him into kitchen chats or spa appointments, while Mr. John beamed with pride when the neighbors gushed about how stunning Jungkook's husband was. Taeyoung thrived in the lavish house, not because of its luxury but because it was filled with love. Jungkook would sneak home early just to kiss him in the kitchen. Jimin would lounge on the couch and bicker playfully with him like a real brother, and late at night Taeyoung would fall asleep on Jungkook's chest, whispering silly things until they both dozed off. But peace never lasts long. She arrived on a Tuesday. Minseo John, Jungkook's distant cousin, born in Seoul but raised in Manhattan. Stunning, confident, sharp-tongued, and driven by one secret, burning grudge. Taeyoung spotted her stepping out of her imported car in black heels and a beige trench coat, designer bag slung over her shoulder. She greeted the staff with fake sweetness before locking eyes with Jungkook, and her eyes sparkled with a hunger Taeyoung didn't like. "Jungkookie, my favorite cousin," she squealed, running into his arms. He hugged her briefly, smiling politely. "Welcome back, Minseo." "It's been a while." She looked over Jungkook's shoulder, her smile tightening when she saw Taeyoung. "You must be the famous Taeyoung," she said with a purr. "I've heard so much." Taeyoung returned her fake smile with elegance. "Likewise. Welcome home." Minseo wasted no time. She began lingering around Jungkook's office at the company, bringing him coffee with heart-shaped foam, brushing invisible lint off his shoulders, and leaning just a little too close when pointing at a document. "Jungkook always liked his espresso strong, remember?" she'd say, glancing at Taeyoung with a saccharine smirk. Taeyoung, ever composed, didn't retaliate, but Minseo's subtle digs grew sharper. The dinner table one night, she brought up class. "It's interesting," she mused aloud, swirling her wine. "Some people adapt well to upper-class living, but not everyone has the background, the polish." Jimin nearly choked on his steak. "You mean Tae? He's got more class in his pinky than you have in your entire Prada closet." But Minseo didn't stop. She began whispering things to Taeyoung when no one was around. "You know, Jungkook dated a lot of women like me before you. Powerful, educated, well-bred. People who fit into this world. I just hope he doesn't get bored." Her words took root like poison ivy. Taeyoung began to doubt. He started pulling away, avoiding kisses, avoiding family dinners, smiling less. One day, Jungkook found their bedroom half-packed. Taeyoung stood there, suitcase open, eyes full of quiet pain. "I'm going back to my parents for a while," he said. "I need space." Jungkook's fury was immediate. "Did she say something to you? Did she make you feel unworthy again?" he demanded, grabbing Taeyoung's wrist. "She's not wrong, Jungkook. I'm not like you. I didn't grow up in a mansion or travel abroad for school. What if your parents one day feel like I'm not enough? My parents adore you, and I love you. That's all that should matter," Jungkook growled. "Don't let that venomous switch twist your mind." When Taeyoung wouldn't stay, Jungkook exploded downstairs. "Minseo!" he shouted through the mansion. She appeared in her silk robe, holding a glass of wine, unfazed. You manipulative parasite!" Jungkook bellowed. "You made him leave." "Oh, Jungkook," she cooed, brushing a manicured nail down his chest. "Maybe it's for the best. You were meant for someone stronger." He shoved her hand away like it was acid. Jimin burst in seconds later. "You heartless snake," he shouted. "You're just bitter because he didn't choose you. You've always been jealous, always cruel." Mrs. John followed, her expression cold and sharp. "Mincio, I open my home to you. But no one hurts my son's husband. You will pack your things and leave. Tonight." Mincio laughed. "I just told him the truth." Mrs. John leaned in, voice low and lethal. "You told him your insecurities. And you'll never be welcome in this house again." The next day, Jungkook showed up at Taehyung's childhood home, hair messy, eyes bloodshot, his jaw tight. "I didn't even touch her when she tried to seduce me," he said hoarsely. "I didn't even see her. All I see is you." He walked up slowly, cupping Taehyung's cheek. "You belong beside me. I belong beside you. Don't ever let anyone make you doubt that." He dropped to his knees and wrapped his arms around Taehyung's waist, resting his forehead against his stomach. "Come home, Tae. Please." Taehyung's hands trembled as he touched Jungkook's hair, the ache in his chest slowly melting. "I wanted to believe I wasn't enough," Taehyung whispered. "But the truth is, I never stopped loving you." After Taehyung returned to the John mansion, Jungkook made it his mission to show the world, and Mincio, that his love was unshakable. He couldn't keep his hands off Taehyung. In the office, Jungkook would press warm kisses to Taehyung's neck when he brought coffee. In meetings, his hand would rest possessively on Taehyung's thigh beneath the table, slowly stroking small circles that sent shivers up his spine. Mincio watched it all from across the glass walls, nearly shaking with rage. Family dinners, Jungkook sat Taehyung on his lap instead of the next chair, whispering in his ear, feeding him bites of food, running his fingers up Taehyung's arms like he couldn't wait to be alone with him. And every night, he made love to Taehyung like it was the first time. One evening, after a particularly heated round of kisses in the study where Jungkook had slammed the door shut and bent Taehyung over the oak desk, he leaned in, breathless and blissed out, and whispered in his ear, "Let her hear how much you love me, baby. Let her know she never stood a chance." Weeks passed, and the house was alive with laughter again, until Taehyung's appetite changed. His emotions flared, and the world began to spin a little faster for him. A doctor's visit confirmed it. He was pregnant. Mrs. John cried, hugging him tightly. "A John heir from the most beautiful love I've ever seen." Mr. John poured champagne, non-alcoholic, for Taehyung, and toasted to the son who taught me what true love looks like. "Jimin." He danced through the halls. "I'm going to be an uncle. And you're going to be a dad, Jungkook. God help us all." "But Jungkook?" He pulled Taehyung into the nursery they had begun designing and kissed every inch of his face. "I'm going to protect you and this baby with everything I have," he vowed, hands gently placed over Taehyung's barely there bump. Mincio returned, this time with fake tears, false apologies, and sickly sweet smiles. "I was horrible," she told Taehyung. "But I've changed. Please let me make amends." Mrs. John remained cautious, but Taehyung, kind-hearted as ever, agreed to meet her alone in the mansion's grand foyer. That was her chance. As Taehyung turned to head upstairs, Mincio's eyes flashed with hatred. In a calculated move, she placed her hand on his back, then shoved. Taehyung gasped, tumbling down the marble stairs. Cries echoed through the mansion. Jungkook's scream was blood-curdling when he saw Taehyung lying at the foot of the stairs, his body curled protectively around his stomach. Taehyung! The hospital was chaos. Nurses, machines, fear. Taehyung was bruised but conscious. The baby's heartbeat was weak but present. Jungkook stayed by his side the entire night, holding his hand like it was his last lifeline. I swear to you, he whispered through clenched teeth. She will never hurt you again. 3 days later, Jungkook called a press conference. The John name was powerful, and so was his voice. He exposed Minseo's sabotage in front of shareholders, reporters, and the board of directors. He shared security footage of the push. Company cut all ties with her. She was blacklisted from every major corporation in Seoul. Jungkook had her arrested and sued for attempted murder and assault. He stood before cameras and declared, "If you ever come near my husband or my child again, you won't have to fear the law. You'll have to fear me." Minseo was dragged out in cuffs, her reputation shattered. Back at home, Jungkook cradled Taehyung in bed, his palm flat against his belly, feeling the faint flutter of the tiny life inside. "You saved our baby," Jungkook whispered. Taehyung smiled weakly, fingers brushing Jungkook's cheek. "We saved each other." The mansion glowed with warmth like never before. The Johns, once a family of quiet power, were now bursting with laughter, excitement, and the clinking of baby bottles. And all of it revolved around Taehyung. Taehyung's bump began to show, round and perfect. Jungkook couldn't stop touching it. At meetings, in bed, even during breakfast, he'd pull up Taehyung's shirt and kiss the bump, whispering softly, "Appa's here, little one. Kick if you hear me." Sometimes the baby actually did. Taehyung would moan and Jungkook would panic, thinking something was wrong, but it was just a strong kick. "You already have John legs," Jungkook grinned proudly. "Strong like your daddy." And cravings? Taehyung wanted strawberry ice cream at 3 a.m. Jungkook personally drove to 5 different 24-hour marts in his pajamas, returning with 10 tubs of every brand. Taehyung sobbed, "You didn't have to do all that." Jungkook kissed the tears from his cheeks and said, "I'd burn the world for you." A tub of strawberry? That's nothing. Closer they got to the due date, the more clingy Jungkook became. He wouldn't let Taehyung climb stairs. He hired a private chef to prepare prenatal-friendly meals. He installed 5 security cameras in the house. Jimin teased, "Hyung, you've turned into a pregnant alpha wolf." Jungkook only smirked. "He carries my air. Of course, I'm territorial." Even their nights changed. They used to burn with passion, but now it was slower, deeper, more intense. Jungkook made love to Taehyung with worship in his eyes, fingers trailing over his body, resting against the bump while he whispered between kisses, "I can't believe you're giving me everything I ever wanted. I want to see your face the moment you hold our baby. Let me kiss you until you forget how to breathe, love." Taehyung moaned against the headboard, overwhelmed by Jungkook's tenderness. One day, Taehyung had a meltdown because he couldn't see his toes anymore. He stood in front of the mirror in tears. "I look like a watermelon." Jungkook came in, dropped to his knees, and wrapped his arms around Taehyung's belly. "The most beautiful watermelon in the world," he whispered, pressing a kiss on the bump. "Ripe, juicy, and mine." Taehyung snorted, then laughed through his tears. "You're insane." "I'm in love," Jungkook corrected, nuzzling his face against him. "And I can't wait to see you become the best appa in the universe." Everything was perfect, until Taehyung collapsed from fatigue during a public event Jungkook took him to. Rushed to the hospital, they were told the baby was healthy, but Taehyung had to stay under strict bed rest for the last month. Jungkook locked down his entire schedule. He moved his office into their bedroom. Refused to leave Taehyung's side even for an hour. "I'm not missing a second of this," he said while gently oiling Taehyung's swollen feet, kissing every toe. "Not even to breathe." It started at 3:47 a.m. Taehyung gripped the bedsheet, his eyes wide. A sharp wave of pain twisted through his lower belly. "Jungkook." Jungkook shot up like lightning. What? What is it? Taeyoung's face was already slick with sweat. It hurts. I think it's time. Jungkook didn't panic. He exploded into panic. 1 second he was shoving clothes into a bag, the next he was helping Taeyoung walk. One arm wrapped tightly around him, yelling down the halls like a man possessed. Car! Now! Get the car! Someone, where's the doctor? Taeyoung whimpered, half laughing through the pain. You're scarier than the contractions. Jungkook growled, lips at his ear. You're not allowed to be in pain. Ever. I'll kill the universe if it hurts you. Hours felt like days. Taeyoung was exhausted. His grip on Jungkook's hand bruised them both. Jungkook sat by him, sweat matching his husband's, whispering over and over, I'm here. I'm right here, baby. You're so strong. You're almost there. Breathe, love. Taeyoung let out a broken scream. Then, suddenly, a tiny high-pitched cry split through the room. Silence followed. Jungkook looked up, and the nurse was holding the most beautiful, squirming, red-faced miracle wrapped in white. A son, the doctor smiled. Taeyoung burst into tears. Jungkook's throat tightened until he couldn't breathe. His world had stopped and restarted all at once. They named him John Juggy because that's what he was. Perfect. Precious. Priceless. The family swarmed into the hospital like an army. Mrs. John sobbed while cradling the baby. Mr. John gently stroked the boy's cheek with a trembling finger. Jimin was already calling himself the favorite uncle. Taeyoung held Juggy against his chest while Jungkook climbed into the hospital bed beside him, wrapping his arms around both. You did it, Jungkook whispered against his forehead. You gave me a son. You gave me everything. Taeyoung blinked up at him, eyes glassy. We made him together. Jungkook kissed him long, slow, and full of promise. Let's make more. Taeyoung became the heart of the John mansion. Mornings were filled with Juggy's giggles, Mrs. John cooing over breakfast, and Jungkook kissing his husband's neck while he made coffee in oversized shirts. Afternoons were baby walks in the mansion garden, Jimin teaching Juggy silly faces and Mr. John writing poems about his grandson. Nights were sweet, soft touches, Jungkook's hands tracing over Taeyoung's body. Lips against stretch marks he adored, whispering, You're more beautiful than ever. And of course, soft moans echoing in their room, bodies tangled between sheets, Taeyoung on Jungkook's lap whispering, Appa, my child, touch me more. They lived happily ever after. The end. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.